to what we're thinking. We are joined right now by Robert Pairman. He's an indigenous holistic healing practitioner and a certified meditation teacher. I'm sorry. Pick up on the conversation, Robert, telling us about meditation, because we've been talking a lot about detoxifying through food, literally urinating and defecating out all those things that should not be in us. But how do we think in a way that makes the body healthier? How do we detox the mind?
All right. Well, as you're aware, there's a lot of connections between the mind and body, obviously. And based on what you are feeding the mind as well, there are effects on the body. Someone can have issues from being overstressed. That is from the brain being in a constant beta state of rapid activity, always focused, always analyzing every single aspect of their day-to-day lives. And what meditation does is allows you to shift from that beta state of always in that conscious mode of analyzing everything to alpha, which is the next state, which deals with that intuitive, creative aspect that artists would be in. Then from there to theta, which is wonderful visions, and those individuals that you hear about meditating and they'll notice images or scenes or receive deep insights. And then what I normally do with my what I'd call seekers, not so much clients, is carry them to the delta state, which is dreamless sleep. It is when the body actually releases growth hormones, and physical healing also takes place. I use sound and guided meditation to bring them to that state.
Now, is this rooted in religion, or is it anybody can come in and say, listen, my mind feel heavy and me not sleep at night time, help me to ease whatever burden is on my brain?
Not rooted in religion. That was one of the reasons why I went and did the meditation course, because I learned all of this from holistic healing, indigenous holistic healings, from the Quechua in Peru. Recently I'm coming from the Maroon conference that just took place, and there are a lot of other indigenous individuals there from Papua New Guinea, First Nations from Canada, and from the dialogue that I've had, each culture has similar practices, similar what we call processes or rituals that helps with the clearing of the mind and releasing of all of this day-to-day distractions that don't serve.
Here's what I want you to do for us before we go for the break. Instruct the listener, myself and Cuff included, on a very quick meditation exercise. And when I say quick, it don't have to be 10 seconds. But walk us through a 1 minute session with a client. So tell me now, to close my eyes, what I should think about, and let me try and go through it with you.
All right, beautiful. Well, I invite you to close your eyes and bring your awareness to the energy in this space. Everywhere has energy. Bring your awareness to your breath, the inhale and the exhale. Being mindful of this connection that we have with the plant kind. For as they give us oxygen, we give them carbon dioxide. And in this state of pure relaxation, I invite you to take a deep breath and hold to the count of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And slowly exhale, releasing with your exhale and that carbon dioxide what does not serve you. Fears, worries, doubts, insecurities. And acknowledging that the plant kind receive what does not serve us, the carbon itself which seems so toxic to us, as nourishing life, and gives us in exchange oxygen. In this state of peace and relaxation, for a couple seconds I invite you to allow the flute to carry you even deeper.
going to ease into a commercial break right now. Stay with us. You're listening to Uncensored. Uncensored. I'm Crystal Tomlinson.
And I'm Michael Cuff. Right before the break, we got a nice little session from our indigenous holistic healing practitioner, and he's a certified meditation teacher. That's Robert Pairman. He's just teaching us how to clear the mind. We're talking about alternative forms of medication. You know, what we're accustomed to is what's been prescribed, what's been bottled, what's been, given names and so on and so forth with the side effects and everything. But we're talking about healing on a different level, and that was Robert Pairman talking about the mind first. We also have Khalifa Sennah. She's a natural health consultant of Seventh Haven Optimum Health Institute. She's on the line. So welcome back, Khalifa.
Hello.
And we asked you the question and you answered, but Robert seemed to have put everybody in the studio in a trance a while ago with his flute and his hypnosis he had going on there. Were you a part of that a while ago? Were you a part of that, Khalifa?
Yes, I was.
Is that something that
I actually teach that in my classes as well, because it's a purification of body, mind, and spirit. And we have to remember that what we feed the body, we feed the mind, because a lot of people tend to think that the body stops at your neck.
Oh, dear.
And when you are ill, it doesn't affect that part of your body. We've grown up in a Western world that has compartmentalized our bodies, because that's the way the Western world thinks. So we have to go back to the ancient thinking and remember that our body is energy and it's one system. Whatever whatever illness you feel in your body, you are also sick in your mind. It's the same blood that feeds your mind as your body. I am a trained hypnotherapist, Reiki practitioner, and neuro-linguistic programming master practitioner. I'm also a colon hydrotherapist. So all of these things I bring together in the program, so I can understand where Robert is coming from and what he is doing in the balancing. I also introduced chi balancing, which is part of the ancient Ayurvedic practices.
I'm glad you brought up hypnotherapy, which is something that we'll ask you about in a couple of minutes. But what I initially wanted to ask you was, since you brought up the whole thing of natural healing and plants and water and just those things that are pure, are you a believer that any ailment with the body can be kind of healed through the mind, in terms of through meditation and just clearing the mind?
Because everything happens first in the mind.
Okay.
The body doesn't go off and do its own thing. The mind controls the body. So whatever is going on, all disease starts first in the mind. So unless you heal your mind, your body's not going to heal. It doesn't matter what you put on the body or in it. If you don't believe that you're going to heal, you will not heal. Your body, your mind is in charge.
Well, what about persons who have certain cancers, who have, real, what we consider hardcore ailments, tumors, that sort of thing, who I guess would rely on something like a chemotherapy or some form of drugs? Would you look at them and say, no, don't use that, go back to the natural form of healing or meditation or so on and so forth?
If they come to me first, I would definitely advise them to do that, because there are no incurable diseases. All you need to do, as I said before, is stop what you're doing that makes you sick and start the new habits that will create health in your body, and your body will cure itself. There are no incurable diseases.
Including AIDS and...
Yes, including all of those.
You believe that can all be cured through...
Those things, and tend to think that, because we've been led to believe that these things are so terrible and they're incurable. People are told they're incurable. I'm sure you've heard of or know of people who have been in situations in hospitals where the doctors have given up on them and told them they were incurable, they should go home and die. And they go home and change what they were doing to make themselves sick and adopt healthful practices, and within months they were in perfect health.
Well, that's,
all of us have that ability. Our body has that ability. Our body automatically tries to heal itself, and most diseases are the body's attempt to heal itself.
Now, I'm curious about the topic of hypnotherapy and hypnosis in general. In Jamaica, first of all, is it something that is practiced more often than we talk about, or is it?
In Jamaica, no, because I find in Jamaica, when you mention the word hypnosis, people tend to look as though they want to put on their running shoes
and the Caribbean repropriating.
Yeah. So walk us through what hypnosis is, because I think when people hear that, they think you're going to put them in a trance, tell them to murder somebody, and then they won't remember that they murdered somebody.
You can't hypnotize anybody. You help people to get into a state. Robert was talking about the alpha state, the beta state. You help people to get their minds into a state where they're bypassing the conscious mind and basically dealing with the subconscious mind. This is where you can easily change certain thoughts and behaviors without having the interference of your conscious critical mind. So it's like a state of meditation. It's a tool. Hypnotherapy is a tool that you use to put yourself into a state similar or of meditation, where you can make changes. You can make the changes that you need. Some people use it to regress and go back to places in their lives where they can look at certain events and try to address those events. Nowadays, you have what they call matrix re-imprinting, because they've realized now that we don't actually keep memories in our brain. Our memories and everything we know is actually in our energy field, and we reach into that when we want the information. So now they've moved on with all of that, and we actually can go into our energy system and change the things that have happened that are causing us distress now.
Khalifa, before we bring Robert in, though, can I ask you this question? Can some persons achieve this state through, let's just say, medicinal ways, meaning, I don't know, cannabis or other forms?
I'm not sure whether it's the same state. I'm not an expert on that. I couldn't say whether it's the same state, but people do use certain types of mind-altering drugs to put themselves into certain states. And the ancients used to, even the ancient Egyptians and other cultures used to use certain herbs to elevate themselves spiritually so that they could open up to receive and understand the information that is coming to them.
Okay, I'm going to pause for a second and allow Robert to say something on that topic.
All right. Well, from the cultures that I've learned and the tribes and the traditions, they have their versions of hypnotherapy, I guess, but their view of it is that the individual, they have maps, so they'd have a specific map with specific routes that you take, and everything is symbolic to the subconscious and to the what they call now the superconscious, which is that other 99% of the brain or 90% of the brain that we're not using. So with the subconscious, they would do a ceremony where an individual would journey down or through the roots of a tree, through an ant's nest, whatsoever, to get down towards the inner earth, and that would be symbolic of the subconscious mind space. The issue that I've found, because a lot of people would ask me if what I'm doing is hypnosis, and traditional teachings really like to associate itself with hypnosis, is the history of hypnosis comes from observing animals and noticing animism, where certain animals would have this dominance over others just from their aura, their energy. It wasn't pheromones, there was something else that was attracting it, and researchers tried to mimic that, and they came up with hypnosis. So that assumption has always been embedded in us, that hypnosis is something bad, is some form of controlling other individuals, and that would disregard a lot of the effort that hypnotherapy is trying to put out there, because with what Khalifa was saying is that hypnotherapy is to assist you with reaching certain states. I guess the barrier to cross is, my suggestion for the practice is to have something that is separate and apart from the whole concept of hypnotherapy or hypnosis, seeing that its origins wasn't, from the research that I've found and the teachings that I've gotten, intended really for that benefit of the individual, because going within and searching within, there were already practices for that. There was meditation, there was rituals, practices that are practiced repeatedly that creates this mind-body link that allows the individual to drift off and work on whatever needs to be worked on inside.
No, there is sort of this Manichaean approach to medicine. It's either you're going to go traditional or you're going to go conventional, but you can't do it together.
I love that you brought that up.
How can we, or have we at all, merge the two? Do you find a medical doctor who will give you an aspirin and then show you how to do a breathing exercise? Or
I believe that now, in this day and age, there is a merger of the two. If you were to even Google and search alternative medicine, you'll normally find the acronym CAM, which means complementary and alternative medicine. So there is the mixture of two. There are practices where there are psychotherapists that would refer someone to a meditation teacher or a specific yoga practice, or even indigenous healers, shamans, mesakeras, individuals that can help to guide them through certain procedures and teach them a practice that they can use on themselves at home. We are aware of acupuncture and acupressure, and the indigenous teachers, what they use, I guess the best word to use for it now is mudras, that is yogas of the hands. So they teach an individual how to put their hands in specific postures. The young children that watch Naruto's will see them forming seals, and will see them bending them fingers in certain ways. That also adds to the healing. They have mudras or hand exercises that help with headaches. So there is a...
And I've heard that something about the feet. They say that everything...
Reflexology, right.
So there is a lot of mixture between the two. What you'll find is that they'll go to the traditional, not the traditional, but they'll go to the contemporary doctor for the tests. And then after they get the tests and they find out exactly what is wrong, at least what are the symptoms, because sometimes what is wrong could be something emotional or spiritual as well. They'd go now to the traditional healer that would help to complement whatever practice, or if there's a specific prescription that is given, the complementary and alternative medicine practitioner would help them to break down some of these prescriptions that they're having due to all of the side effects, to have another route or something to complement what has been prescribed.
So, and I'll go back to Khalifa and ask this question. Is it that we're not dismissing the typical form of medication or the what people know about, the aspirin and so on and so forth? We're not dismissing it, but what we're saying is these are quick fixes to problems that can be cured naturally, or if we just take the time to listen to our bodies and go back to what we should be doing?
Yes, absolutely, and I agree with Robert when he said that there are some doctors now who are working together with alternative practitioners. I have a doctor where I am here in Portland, Port Antonio, who has some of her clients have come to me, and she actually recommends that they come to me because I can help them to reverse diabetes, etc., etc. So when they go for certain tests, after they've been for tests, they will come to me, and she will encourage them. So there's not there's no longer that sharp divide. Some doctors are still very much into the old practices, but there are many doctors and many medical doctors who are now coming over into alternative medicine or attempting to add it to what they do.
Khalifa, I'm glad you mentioned Portland, because Portland itself is renowned for the lushness and the greenery. How important is that sort of an environment to building a healthy mind? Because Kingston and other concrete jungles like this around the world have a lot working against it in terms of a clean and healthy environment. Do you find Portland to be malleable to the sort of teachings that you have? Could you be as successful in a Kingston where they're going right back into the smog and the traffic and the lights and the noise?
Portland definitely has an edge over somewhere like Kingston. It is a beautiful, beautiful parish. It has water flowing everywhere, waterfalls, rivers, fresh air, sea. It is very, very health enhancing. And this is one of the reasons why I came here. I was very surprised, though, to find that there are so many people who are ill. There are a lot of people who, I think there's as many here as there are in town who are ill, people who have diabetes and cancer, and, it's not less here because I think that's because the people are living the lives that they think make the modern life. They're living the lives they see on cable TV, the Americans live, etc. They're eating that type of food, even though there's enough
fast food.
And they're trying to live the fast life, even though there's an abundance of food here, beautiful natural food and clean water, springs everywhere. People are still going after the fast food and the fast life, and it's telling on their health.
As you said that, Khalifa, Robert handed me a book, which I'm going to steal from him. It's Buff Bay Valley Herbs. And what they've done is they've kind of just broken down a lot of the vegetation that we normally see. Cinco Bible or aloe vera, dandelion, jack in the bush, John Charles, and it kind of tells you what the uses are, and I'm guessing also where they may help you. And I go back to what my grandmother used to say to me, which is when she used to feed me greens, and I'd say, I'm not eating this. She goes, but it's the same thing inside the Flintstone vitamins and everything. It's just broken down, and they multiply it and put it in the bottle. So, a lot of the foods.
But it's not just multiplied, they synthesize it.
Right.
Because that way they can mass produce it. And if they were to just simply give you a herb, why would they want to do that when the multinational pharmaceutical companies are trying to make money? They looked at something like the soursop, for instance, and they couldn't find a way to synthesize it and turn it into something they could put in a bottle, so they abandoned it.
Right.
And it's one of the best fruits that you can eat for regulating your heart, preventing heart disease, etc., etc. Everything that we need is there in the natural herb. And unfortunately, a lot of people prefer to take a pill. And of course, the pill has lost the life energy, the life energy that these herbs give you.
Well, I'm gonna allow Robert to also comment to that. But what I want to ask is this now. Even though it's a quick fix, and my dad always says anything fast can be good, fast food, fast this, fast whatever,
That's a wise man.
Even though, and strangely enough, he had 2 heart attacks and he changed his diet, and now he's living a very happy life. So, he's a firm believer in what you're saying. But are there long-term or are there side effects now to using these quick fixes? Is it that we should really go back to the healthier forms, the clearing of the mind, or going back to vegetation? Or is it that if we continue along the path of just grabbing the Tylenol bottle and Tylenol's gonna hate me by the way after this show, could there be bad side effects for us?
There are bad side effects. All you have to do is look around you.
Right.
Around you at the health of the nation, not just the health of the nation, but the health of the whole Western world.
Are there negative side effects to utilizing alternative medicine?
I haven't found any. I haven't found anyone who's died from taking herbs or
drinking aloe vera.
Died from eating healthy food.
Well, let me just clarify now for the listener, because you're not saying you're going to self-medicate and just walk outside, pick the greenest bush, boil it, and stain it and wrap it and cover your eyes, because we tend to create our own homemade medicine.
Could be poison ivy.
Right. Is there any way to guide people in terms of what plants to look for? If it's a particular shade of green, if it smells a particular way, if a butterfly is on it versus a bee on it, how can people know a few tricks in terms of picking the right bush to boil?
There are no tricks really. It's if the herb looks healthy and it's not growing by the roadside where, say for instance, by the main road where you've got loads of traffic and gasoline and all sorts of things, people peeing on the side of the road or whatever. I don't know how toxic that could be, but if you are picking the herb somewhere where it's healthy and the herb looks healthy, what I have said to people actually is follow the animals.
That's true.
I go to collect herbs. I find that I go to where the pastures sometimes where the cows are eating, and they've been there before me, and they've eaten down the top of all the herbs. So I follow the cows around.
Well, let me help you out, Khalifa, because as I said, Robert just gave me a book called Buff Bay Valley, and it has broken down a lot of the herbs that we find here, and I'm sure you can do your research online. I wouldn't just pick a bush regardless and put it in my mouth. You know, I'm sure each has their own use and their own defense mechanisms. But what I also wanted to ask about, I have to throw this out because there's some guys on my way through Junction going into the country have some bottle stuff, man, and tell me, say, boy, this can cure everything. Roots. You know? Is it BS, or are these guys serious when they say, boy, this can cure everything?
Like spirulina, for instance.
I heard a song today, the spirulina. Yes. Are these things real, or is it foolishness?
I wouldn't advise you to buy herbs from someone on the side of the street. Like I don't even have to explain that.
Robert, what do you say? Because man tell me it can cure everything, you know, and make you all kind of something.
Sperm count,
increase your sperm count, stand long, and
take off the acne, change the bald spot, make your teeth white.
I mean, there are roots that can do that. There are plants that can do that. The main thing is to be mindful of who you're purchasing these things from, just like with everything else, and pay attention. Make sure that even if it's somebody on the street side, that you still have some information as to the ingredients, so
you understand it,
so them can list the roots, so you can connect it back. You know, if them say that it can cure the acne, and you look on it and see that it only having ginseng and guinea head weed, you know, say, all right, those two don't have nothing to do with acne, so what you put in it extra that you're not putting on the bottle?
Right.
And
it's to be conscious.
What about the horny goat weed? I've heard about that one. Is it a real thing? I have to ask.
It's in almost every tonic wine.
From what I'm aware of, yes. There are a lot of things that have aphrodisiac. Coming from the traditional teachings is that they observe the plants, they meditate with the plants, they listen to the plants, just as cannabis itself. An example is Mimosa pudica, which some cultures call it the praying plant, call it sensitive plant, shame old lady, from the actions of the plant itself, seeing that it clearly has an intricate nervous system, and it has an awareness of heat and certain other elements.
Right.
Based on that, if an individual has issues with their nervous systems, the indigenous healers would choose that plant based on what they observe from the plant, and science has seen that it does have chemicals in it that help with a lot of these similar issues. So I agree with what she was saying before with regards to observing the plant and observing the animals and how they relate with them.
Now, in 2014, Jamaican people who still out there think everything that is not written on a doctor's prescription pad is OBL. How can people, one, share information like they have with like you, share information on some of these techniques and herbs and so on? And how can people get information? Because I don't imagine you're advertising on prime time in a commercial slot. So how can people find this information that they need?
Well, alright. The first one is clearly the one that I shared about the Buff Bay Valley. That I got that from the Maroons up there. I'll check if I have a number for Kim, which she is a Maroon, and she does a lot of the teas up there at the Maroon conference and other events. And I was recommending at the show that, you know, I'll try to organize some events so they can come to Kingston and travel, because the information being there alone not really benefiting all of us on a wide scale. And just as you said, these aren't people that they're going to go out there and advertise and put out website and stuff of this nature. The conference
why though? Why wouldn't they want to share all this information?
I don't think it's that they don't want to, because they're at that level now where they're aware that they want to get the information out, but is that assistance, they need a bridge, someone from the outside. I mean, they're doing their part in sharing the culture with those that are there and growing the crops and making that awareness, holding the culture, and it's for one of us out here to really go into the community and say, all right, let us assist with this. You know, I have a Facebook page, I have a website, I have email, I have an ad that can assist you guys with getting your information out there. I tried to do that for the conference, and I'm going to continue to try to do that for a lot of what they have to offer, because it's a huge part of our culture.
So the research, it's there. It's just for us to tap into it and reach out to it. And you said, well, we'll try and put it up on our social media.
Yes, you have that information.
And so on and so forth. Because this book looks amazing, and some of these things, I like I said, I walk past in my garden, I step on it. I'm like, this can't help me, but it has medicinal value to it.
Khalifa, Khalifa?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Do you find, as we're closing out, do you find an increase in the number of persons who are seeking this sort of alternative medication as opposed to traditional means, or it's still a small number?
Absolutely so. There are a lot more people, and people who I wouldn't normally associate with change, who are now seeking alternative medicine and telling me that they're finding that the conventional general medical field has failed them, and so they're trying to find something that works. And my greatest advertisement is word of mouth. People who have been on the program and who have healed, and they are spreading the word. And basically what they're telling people is that once you follow the program, you cannot not heal. You must heal. The body does heal. So I'm getting more and more people coming to me based on the word of mouth information they're getting from people on the program, which I started at the end of last year. I've only been back here in Jamaica now for a year, and I came to Portland the end of last year and started running the programs. They're 3-month programs because they deal with, as I said, the purification of the body, mind, and spirit. So it's not an overnight cure. Although diabetes can be reversed within a few days, the psychological and spiritual side also needs to be worked on.
And there's one more side that we hadn't actually mentioned tonight, and I don't know if we'll be able to go into it deeply, but the fitness side to it as well, exercise, which
absolutely,
I'm glad to say I'm seeing in Jamaica now this new craze. Up to yesterday they had Tough War, they have Hardcore Caribbean and 5Ks going on, so we're getting on board with that, but it can't just be an exercise and go eat pizza afterwards, right? You have to also get your mind and your body and that kind of thing.
It has to be involved, and also I think the culture is changing, because when I first came here, came home in 2000, not first, but the last time before this time when I came home, I spent 2 years. And I remember then people used to tell me that women believe that they need to be fat so that their men will have something to cling on to or whatever. So women would deliberately make themselves fat.
Yes.
And I find now that that is changing. The culture is changing. People are beginning to realize that is causing illness.
That's true. And I mean, we have a few seconds to go, but very quickly, perhaps Robert can tell me, or either of you, what role does sex play in that whole rejuvenating, healing of the mind, releasing positive energies and all of that? Is
very important.
Says
five times a day.
Let's hear from the
5
professionals.
times a day.
Huge role. Sex is a very important part of health and healing, not just for the exercise it gives the body, but it helps to heal the heart. It helps to keep you young. With the males, it also helps to prevent prostate cancer, and it has huge healing benefits.
And is it
more sex than Khalifa?
Is it sex or ejaculation? Because you can have ejaculation on your own. So is it
you can have ejaculation on your own, but sex with a partner,
Khalifa,
and a lot more than simple ejaculation. Ejaculation gives you relief.
Okay.
And also helps you to get rid of some of the toxins.
All right, let me give Robert the last word as we close out.
Okay.
From my traditions, they view sex as a sacred act in the sense that it is synergistic energy exchange between two individuals. So it's not just connection on the physical level, but on an emotional level and on a spiritual level. And what happens from that is the growing of two individuals together. So if we were all to go into that sacred relationship with respect and learn from intercourse, learn from that connection of these two genders coming together in one sacred act, it could not only benefit us physically, but even our mind, even our nation, to say that two individuals that come from two different lineages, two different lines, can come together and have something that is not only sacred and has this effect of creating new life, but is also pleasurable.
All right.
Robert Pairman, indigenous holistic healing practitioner and certified meditation teacher, along with excellent flute player, and put you to better, put you in a nice state of mind. Also, Khalifa Sennah, she's a natural health consultant of Seventh Haven Optimum Health Institute. Thank you so much, Khalifa, for being on the show.
Thank you for
And thanks,
inviting
Robert.
me.